Another windy day, 4 different drones, you know what's coming, another wind test. Hello, I'm Ian and I play with drones, and today I'm playing with 4 drones. I've got the Autel Evo 2 Pro, the Mavic 2 Pro by DJI, DJI Air 2S, and also for good measure the DJI Mini 2. Windy day, and you know how much I love putting drones through their tests on windy days. Comparing them today because the Autel Evo specs say that it's got a wind resistance, or it can handle winds up to force 8, which is gale force winds. That's basically 45 mile an hour winds, 70 kilometer an hour winds. Much higher than what the DJI specs. The Mini 2, the Air2S and the 2 Pro all stay top max wind spec of around 38 to 40 kilometers an hour, or 27 miles per hour. Now, it's a bit of a windy day today, and we've got UAV forecasters telling me not to fly. I've got gusts over 60 kilometers an hour, or 40 miles an hour. So that is in excess of what DJI recommend to fly in. But doing my usual trick, the wind is coming from the southwest, so I can fly out into the wind, so I can always fly back with the wind if it's all proving too much. And the golden rule, of course, is always fly out into the wind and fly home with the wind, and always fly where you can actually retrieve it. So if it gets too bad and it starts drifting, I can always do an emergency remote landing in the farmer's field, but I'm hoping I don't have to do that today. Anyway, that's the plan. Let's get on with it. Right, start off with the DJI Mini 2. It's got a maximum top speed in sports mode of 58 kilometers an hour, or 36 miles per hour. So we're going to be pushing our luck today with it. But when I did my Mini 2 test a few months ago, it handled the wind pretty well. So without further ado, what could possibly go wrong? Let's start. So even in the very strong wind, he's holding his position pretty well. Let's face the wind. Still amazed at how quiet the Mini 2 is. It really is a fantastic little drone. Right, let's fly straight out into the wind, and we'll see how fast it can fly in sports mode, go straight into the wind. Grim old day. Okay, he is being blown sideways, no two ways about that. He is not, I've got full stick here and he is not moving, he is only going sideways. Let's try left, pulling him left. So when I go forward, there we go, he's creeping. So yeah, he's not being blown backwards, but he is struggling. And he is drifting a lot as well. So I've only got the right stick going forward, but no, he really is grinding to a halt. Right, well, poor little Mini 2, he is struggling. I mean, like, oh, he's going backwards there now. I've got my stick forward. There's the strong wind warning. So he is struggling. Going around all over the place, poor little thing. Right, let's get him home with the wind. 30, 31, 32, 35, 36. So yeah, no problem there. Here he comes. Come on. Right. Ted is away, yeah. You stay there, Ted. Ah. Right, well, good performance from the Mini 2 there. I mean, it is a windy day. Didn't get blown away, but was very much being blown off course. Now let's try with the Air2S, see how that copes. Okay, we'll do the same test now with the Mavic Air 2S. It's got a higher top speed, 68 kilometers an hour, 42 miles per hour. It's got the same wind rating according to the specs, but I'm guessing it's going to handle the wind a little bit better. So anyway, let's see how we get on in sports mode. Okay, so that's him just sitting there in sports mode, being blown about quite a bit. But he's holding position, certainly not drifting at the moment. Right, okay, so he is, I was playing around with the white balance the other day. Let's get that sorted. There, let's turn him to face into the wind. Like I said, he's in sports mode, so he should hopefully handle this without too much issue. I'm just going to change the, yeah, here we go, kilometers. Right, okay, let's do it. Okay, oh, look at that, straight off, 34, 35, straight into the wind. Turn him, a bit dark, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Oh, that's excellent, look at that, 35 kilometers an hour. What's that going to be? 22, 23, 40 kilometers an hour. So, I mean, he is not batting an eyelid in this wind. That's fantastic. 30 k's, that's going to be over 20 miles an hour. Right, fantastic. Keep an eye on him. There he goes. You can see the little black dot. So very, very, very good result there in sports mode. Right, let's turn around, head home with the wind, see how it copes. Straight up to its max speed, by the looks of it, 66, 67, 68. There we are. So he is speed limited. He won't go over 68 kilometers per second. Straight home, absolute mad rush. Whoa, look at that. Shoot. Bit of an overshoot there. Right. So that's very good. That's the first time I've done a wind test on the Air 2S actually. I was hoping it was going to perform pretty much the same as the original Mavic Air 2. Yeah, fantastic. Straight up 40 kilometers an hour. What's that? 25 miles an hour straight into very strong wind. Absolutely no problem in sports mode there. So this is what I put up with when I'm filming here. Absolute crazy dogs. Now the Mavic 2 Pro. Let's get that sorted. Okay, so now it's the turn for the DJI Mavic 2 Pro. Got high hopes for this. It's got the highest spec top speed, 72 kilometers an hour, 45 miles an hour, I think, and it's got the same wind resistance rating as in the specs as the Air 2S and the Mavic Mini, Mini2 rather, but I do know that the 2 Pro can handle incredibly strong winds. I mentioned it on the last wind test I did when I was flying in Iceland a couple of years ago. Absolute gale force winds, and it didn't bat an eyelid. So got high hopes for this. Let's see how it performs. You stay there, Ted. Right, again, he's holding his position pretty well in the very strong wind here. Not happy, but there we go. Make sure he is in sports mode. All right, turn him round. And let's head him straight off into the wind. Oh my Lord, he's like a rocket. I've got focus peaking switched on. That's what the red dots are. I've done a little video on that. Very useful to make sure you're in focus. Right. to admit I did expect a little bit more from him. It is incredibly windy, 30 kilometers an hour, a little bit of drifting. Right, let's turn him around. Straight back, straight up, 72, 73, 73 k's, so he's a little bit over his top spec speed, and straight back. Now the wind has really got up, so I'm literally, whilst it's really windy, I'm going to make him do exactly the same thing again. So he's up at 25 meters high, flying straight into that wind. 13. So he is struggling, but he is still coping. To me it looks like the Air2S was actually doing better there. 23, 24, 25 k's, what's that, 15 miles an hour. So he's still comfortable doing 30 k's, so it's over 20 miles an hour straight into the headwind. Let's get him home quickly. Drop him down, see if we can get even faster. 40, 50, 60, 70, 2, 3, that's it. Okay. Come on. Right. He wasn't too happy, got to admit. 30 k's, 20 miles an hour. But he never struggled. But I actually expected him to go a little bit faster. But the main thing is that he didn't blow away. So that's the main test there. Right, last but not least, the Autel Evo 2 Pro. Let's get that one going. Okay, so now it's the turn of the Autel Evo 2 Pro. Like I said, he's got the same top speed of 72 kilometers an hour or 45 miles an hour according to the specs. But according to the specs, he has got a higher wind resistance. He can handle winds up to force 8, which is up to the same speed, basically 44, 45 miles per hour, 70 kilometers an hour wind. So I've not flown the Autel Evo in very strong wind. Powerful beast. I'm hoping he will perform admirably. Ted, you stay there. No. Go back. Go back. Yes. Okay, you can see him holding his position quite well. Doesn't seem too phased by the wind. Let's turn him into the wind. Okay, got him into ludicrous mode, top speed 72 kilometers an hour. Let's see how he copes. Oh, obstacle avoidance. There we go. Once he's over the obstacle avoidance, then he's happy to fly. Off he goes. Right. Let's see how we go. 30, 32 k's. What's that? So he's over 20 miles an hour straight away. Oh, don't need to record. Thank you. Take him up in the air. So 18, okay, he's not slicing through the wind, but he's not being blown backwards. Again, it is still very, very windy. 9k's, 7k's. Yeah, okay, high wind warning, thank you. Oh, gone right down there. So I've still got my right stick forward full, and he's gone right down to 1-2k's there, so that wasn't too good. Okay, he's picked up speed again, edging forward. So he's literally managing 5 miles an hour at the moment. I would have expected it to be a little bit more robust into that wind. Creeping forward, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's gone right down to 0 speed now. Creeping back up again. It's not actually being blown down, is he? Let's just look down a little bit so we can see relative to the ground. There he goes. Now he is creeping forward. Okay. Let's bring him back round, see how he copes flying with the wind. Yeah, I know, you're not happy, are you? Right, straight, top speed, straight up, 40, 50, 60, 70 to 70. So straight up to his top speed, 72 k's, 45, 46 miles an hour, without any worries whatsoever there. Here he comes, shooting along. I tell you what, I mean, that was, yeah, all right, come back. Right, might just send him out again, because I did expect him to do a little bit better than that. So round 2 for the Autel, still in ludicrous mode. He's okay, doing a little bit better. He's doing about 12, 13, 40 miles an hour here, 20 kilometers an hour. Still, nope, slowing down, 11k, so he's down to about 5 miles an hour now. 6, 7, just creeping up again. Yeah, that's surprising. I did expect him to be a little bit more robust in the wind, but there we are. Down to 3. High wind warning again. No problem with VLOS with the Autel Evo. I could still see him very easily in the distance there. Yeah, but he's not really very happy, is he? He's kind of sitting on about 10, 12 k's, about 6, 7 miles an hour. Let's just turn around now and come home one more time. Straight up. Oh, overshoot again. Come back, come back, come back, come back, 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 back. Okay, so all 4 drones back on the table, which is always a relief when I do this sort of test. You never quite know how it's going to go. Yeah, quite surprising actually. I thought the Autel Evo 2 Pro was going to just absolutely slice through the wind. It's got the specs saying that it can cope with up to a force 8 gale force wind. That's 70 k's or 45 mile an hour winds. We were not quite at that today, but it was clearly struggling in the wind. It never actually drifted, it never came to a grinding halt, but it obviously didn't have much more up its sleeve to handle a much stronger wind. So that was a little bit surprising, but at least it did perform well in the wind. The 2 Pro, the Mavic 2 Pro, also I expected it to handle the wind a little bit better than it did. Certainly when I was back in Iceland a couple of years ago, I made sure that the wind was blowing onto the beach from the sea before I actually flew out over the sea. Because that obviously is one of the golden rules. You fly out into the wind so that if the worst comes to the worst and it starts struggling, you can at least fly back home and fly another day. I did expect the Mavic 2 Pro to fly a little bit faster though. It said it's a very, very windy day today. Air2S, little surprise of the day there. It obviously was slowed down slightly, but it was still getting up to around 35-40 kilometers an hour, so that's well over 25, knocking the door 30 mile an hour straight into the wind, which was a very pleasant surprise. The original Mavic Air 2 Also handle the wind very, very well. In my head, I always had the 2 Pro, the Mavic 2 Pro, as being the absolute beast and strongest contender in strong wind, but certainly as far as today is concerned, the Air2S seemed to perform the very best. But look, interesting test there. Oh, and of course, let's not forget the Mini2. He handled the wind as well. Did come to a bit of a stop, did drift sideways a little bit. Obviously, it's a much smaller model. They've still done good work on making it handle strong winds, but yeah, you want to be careful if you're flying the Mini2 in very, very strong wind. To be honest, you want to be very careful flying any model in very strong wind. Like I said, golden rule, fly into it, fly home with the wind. If you are getting into trouble, drop the altitude. That is going to be your biggest and best approach. The winds are always going to be slower, well, not as fast the lower down. So literally drop down to around 5 to 10 meters, 20 to 30 feet tops. The lower you are, the slower the winds. Up high, they're going to be much, much faster. And yeah, like I said, if it's all going a bit belly up and you're seeing it drifting, then have a look around you, look down and make that emergency remote landing, and then you can use the Find My Drone function to walk out and retrieve your drone. And remember, you can actually layer the satellite layer on the Find My Drone function, so you can actually use landmarks to try and work out exactly where it ditched. Anyway, look, as ever, give me a little thumbs up, helps the cause. It is ridiculously cold, very different to last weekend. Anyway, look, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, stay safe and sane, and until next time, have fun, happy flying.